started.
Already ahead of you.
Call Brad to get your adventure started today at Ocala Aviation, 861-7484.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock, there is, right now, a young lady about 40 miles from here up in Gainesville at the University of Florida. She's a student, or maybe a former student by this point. And she started a cleaning service. And long story short, I think she's got 300 employees now.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing that that's an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Where did she learn that from? Where did she, how did she know how to do that, like if I was to start a cleaning service, I'd be out there scrubbing floors. I don't know if I'd had 300 people, even one other person doing it for me. But she has. Bill Steele is on the phone with us. He's the co-founder and chief engineer of Polar3D. Recently won a 2015 International Society for Technology in Education Best of Show Award. He's a former Microsoft executive, and one of the things we can do with all this new technology is create something that could create a business for ourselves. So he wants to talk to us about ways to inspire students to think like entrepreneurs and maybe make their lives better in the long run, and the rest of our lives better as well. Bill Steele, good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
All right. Well, thank you for being on the air with us this morning. So were you an entrepreneur when you were a kid?
Not really. Actually, interestingly enough, it really didn't take off until after I got out of school, really.
Was it a need thing? Like you couldn't find a job, or was it just something that you thought would be cool?
No, as a kid, I always tore things apart, and I really never thought about putting them back together. And at one point, later on, I started working, in fact, at Microsoft, and we started working on other projects where we started really pushing the envelope of what technology could do. And when you start to push the technology envelope like that, you find a lot of gaps where a new need has to be fulfilled, and there's nothing that actually does that. And in my particular case, 3D printing turned out to be a avenue to actually fill a gap that we had, developing new parts that nobody had ever thought of before. There was nothing off the shelf that we could use.
So I know what 3D printing is. So does Robin. I think everybody in this radio station knows what it is because we watched videos on this. But it's a relatively new term. So for those listening who don't know what it is, explain what it is.
My granddaughter actually said it best when she said it was drawing her apart. Or drawing her a toy. In reality, we use a technology very similar to this, or we're very familiar with it. When we go to the ice cream stand, the soft serve ice cream, the operator of the machine actually pulls a handle. We call it extruding, but it squirts out the ice cream,
right?
And then we use our other hand to catch it into the shape of the cone.
Okay.
We actually move around and we catch that shape, right? We're doing the exact same thing, only with plastic. So think of it as a really, really fancy, tiny, precise hot glue gun.
And some of the things that we saw online, now I don't know if this applies in all cases, some of them were usable tools. I think somebody printed a wrench in one of the videos, and even though it was plastic, the plastic must be very strong.
Yeah, you can. There's a whole bunch of different types of plastic. So you can do really soft, flexible materials, or you can do really hard materials. We can even embed other materials that make them even stronger. For example, carbon fiber, and I have very thin parts that we've made with carbon fiber that a human couldn't break. They're that strong.
So if I designed something, would I have to buy a 3D printing machine, or are there people out there with the machines who take my plans or my schematics and actually can create the prototype, let's say, of whatever it is I want?
Yeah, so both are true. You can actually, purchase your own printer. There's printers all the way down to $350, or you can use a service bureau. There are local community workspaces, maker spaces that can build the parts for you. or teach you actually how to build the parts using the printer. Or there's services like 3D Hubs that actually allow you to submit your job and get a quote back by a local user of a 3D printer, and then they will build the part for you.
Oh, that's so cool.
And this seems like great strides should be made in the industry where people don't have limbs, and you provide the limbs for them.
Right. The Enable community actually does exactly that. They developed a very, very low-cost set of designs for 3D printed, artificial limbs, if you will, fingers and hands and complete arms. And the beauty of that is we're using very, very low-cost materials. We can print them locally. We can actually have the operators of the printers locally with the kids or the people that need the limb actually go out and measure it and get an exact fit. And the real beauty of it is the cost of them is around under $50 easily.
Wow.
Compared to a standard prosthetic, which is thousands and thousands.
Yeah,
of dollars.
really. Wow. Do you know what? We watched a very touching video of a blind pregnant young lady, and she was having a sonogram done, and she had smiles on her face. She didn't realize she was about to have an amazing thing happen to her. And the doctor asked her if she would like to see her baby. And long story short, and I guess you know where I'm going with this, he did the sonogram, then printed up a 3D holdable, with texture, like a plastic rendition of what the baby looks like, and then he gave it to her, and she of course was crying, and that's a pretty amazing thing, isn't it? Yep,
it sure is.
You have a Polar Ambassador project. Is that what you're working with the Boys and Girls Clubs with?
So we do work with the Boys and Girls Clubs, and basically what we're doing is we're putting in 3D printing labs in several Boys and Girls Clubs across the country, and so that when they come in, after school, they can actually learn to use the printers and really get an understanding of what a printer is used for, and then also we're kind of hopefully changing their minds on not limiting them to not knowing how to do things, right? So the beauty of the 3D printer, especially in these neighborhoods there, is this is a technology that they don't generally have access to. But we want to figure out where those really stellar students are. There's students in every school that we've been to that really step up and really learn how to use the printer, and we engage those students and try to get them to help us, if you will, spread that knowledge, right? So we encourage those students by giving them sometimes their own printer or a discounted printer. We give them filament, but we keep them engaged, and we get them engaged in their local communities, because our company is a real small company, but we can use them to help spread the word or to help out users. Maybe another student has a question about can I make this model, or how would I design it to better be printed, things like that.
Wow.
And that ambassador can be engaged for that.
Wow.
So the first three will be in Cincinnati, Washington, D.C., and Portland. And,
Yep.
and any plans to expand it? Like, will we see it in Ocala anytime soon?
So actually, right now we have 12 on the list, and the Cincinnati's already in place, and Portland is actually in. It literally was installed yesterday.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Washington, I've done no real sure time on the timing on it, but then we have a total of 9 others that will be added on very shortly. And those cities have already been picked, and I can't remember which ones where exactly they're all at. But we have in Cincinnati, we're trying to cover all of them as an example, since they're local and we can get a lot of feedback from them and what to do and what not to do and things like that. And then we're also developing curriculum along those lines, so that it's not a school thing, but it's an after-school thing, right? So they might actually have a contest. For example, we have these things called Polar Challenges. And in that case, what you would do is you might actually have a contest for what kind of a part can we make to sell, okay, so that we can go out into the community and sell things to actually raise, a little bit of money for the Boys and Girls Club, the local one that they're in.
Oh,
so they might actually sell customized keychains or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Very cool. Bill, thank you for being on the air with us. Do you want to leave us with a website so we can look into this more?
Sure, it's just polar3d.com.
Easy enough. Polar3D.com. Yeah, check it out and inspire somebody to do something with their creative imaginations. Bill Steele, thank you so much for being on with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, intervals of clouds and sunshine with a shower or thunderstorm around, mainly during the afternoon hours over the inland areas. The high 84 to 88. Partly cloudy tonight. There may be a